Vou agora aqui da reunião, vou agora ver, tá bem? Ok, ok.
So,
Hello?
hello, good evening. Good afternoon. All of you.
Yeah, good morning here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
India.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, and you?
Fantastic.
Okay, that's good. That's great under the circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't complain.
Yeah, yeah,
It could be worse, you know.
yeah. It's always a good thing to think. It could be worse
It
than
could be worse. It could always be worse.
It could be worse,
Absolutely.
yeah. Yes, it is.
Marco,
So,
so great to see you.
nice
yeah.
to see you all.
Yeah, very good.
Hello.
Hello.
So, how will things going? How will things going to be processed? Who is speaking first? Is according to the list I have, or you have another?
Yeah, Jan, if you prefer to speak now because you have to babysit the children.
Of course, of course. I will try to attend also with the children then. But school starts at 11:30, and then Marika will come and join us.
Okay. So it's very nice to be in such a conference. It's my, I am retired, so it is my baptism in this digital era that we are living in.
Yes.
So I hope it will be well, but I will do my best, of course.
Fantastic.
I don't know if you have my PowerPoint to share.
That would be an open question. So, would you like to?
I sent my PowerPoint to the organizers.
Oh, okay.
So, and I don't know if they insert here.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know what's going to happen. I would have some slides. I can share slides.
We are all like Madonna, like a virgin.
Exactly. Oh,
So we
very
are
nice.
waiting for the organizers, what they have decided.
Yeah, let's see.
Let's see.
Hi.
Yeah.
How are you?
But you are in Russia, or you are at home?
Oh, I am in my private office. Okay.
Okay.
Rome.
Oh, beautiful.
Rome. Okay.
I am
So how things are going in Rome?
You're in Rome too, Marco?
Yes, I'm in Rome too.
Oh, fantastic.
I am in Portugal,
Yes.
near Braga, which is one
I know.
city in the north of Portugal.
Yes, I've been there.
Okay.
Hi, Luna.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, hi. You're here. Is it 3 o'clock? Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
Marco, how are things? Are you planning to come over to Liechtenstein soon?
Oh yeah, when you invite me, I'm ready. Not now. Now I cannot go out of Milan, you know.
Yeah.
You
Now we cannot go out of home.
My dear friends, my colleagues, I welcome you. I'm sorry, there is cold here, and I would like to present here. There are my colleagues, and for example,
Nobody's there. Okay.
Fantastic.
Between our virtual participants, Evgeny Zaraminskih. Evgeny, our president, our new president of Russian chapter of I Association.
Evgeny Saramensky.
Evgeny, no. Okay, in this room, it's very cold. If you don't mind.
No, not at all.
Oh, Yes, our meeting today is recording, and we will put it in YouTube tomorrow. So our audience will be much more. Yes. So please, here is our vice president of our Russian chapter. I would like to give him the words. Yes, please.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome, everybody, in our virtual session. But it's like a real session because I can see you like you are just a couple meters from me away. Yeah,
Okay.
that's great. So these technologies allows us to be immersed into virtual world and to communicate to each other like in real life. So hopefully we can do it today in this afternoon session. So guys, who is first? I don't know.
Peter Borisovich.
Yeah, I can introduce myself, by the way, just for the note. So I'm Professor Panfilov, Peter Panfilov, from High School of Economics. Yeah, it's a university in Moscow. So
But we are in Yekaterinburg, not Moscow.
But we are not in Moscow right now. We are in Yekaterinburg. It's Ural, a little bit far away from Moscow, but you know, the same climate actually. So in Moscow right now, we have something like 1 degree Celsius, and the same here in Yekaterinburg. So.
Okay, Peter will be my co-moderator of this session. But the first,
I will help.
the first speech will go to Professor Marco De Marco for welcome speech. Please, Professor Marco.
Floor is yours.
Okay, I'm here. Can I start?
Sure.
Yes, you can start.
Okay. Also, first of all, thank you for having invited me at the conference on digitalization of society, economy, management, and education, hosted by Ural Federal University of Yekaterinburg. I wish to thank the new president of the Russian chapter of AIS, and my thanks also to Alena Fedorova, founder and past president of the AIS Russian chapter. When Alena suggested that I participate with a greeting address in this meeting, I had in mind to present you a list of the advances of the various technologies that are under the ICT umbrella, and to show you how, over the course of a century, the time between the affirmation of a technology and its diffusion had greatly shortened. Furthermore, I wanted to present some considerations on the opportunities that new technologies offer and our ability to use them. Unfortunately, the recent pandemic has convinced me that at this moment there are more present and important facts and aspects. The life science, and by this I mean above all the medical science, have made progress in the last few decades. The average lifespan of life expectancy have consequently rapidly increased. Fatal diseases have been defeated in large part of the world. Poliomyelitis, smallpox, diphtheria have disappeared. The old radiography has been replaced by CAT, MRI, PET, which allow you to have a complete view of what is in the human body, while only a few decades ago, this was explored with a hearing and the touch of the doctor. And great technological miracles have occurred in the field of surgery. Endoscopic surgery allows you to operate with precision without having to open large wounds in the patient, and allows you to greatly shorten the time spent in hospital. Despite these advances, when we were faced with effects like the pandemic caused by the coronavirus, we proved helpless. Medical and pharmaceutical science have faced and overcome far more serious challenges, yet this epidemic has almost brought the world to its knees. What is missing? Was the technological advancement of medicine and pharmacology not enough to tackle the pandemic? I fear that the main problem is in the lack of management and organization capacity. I come from Italy, where according to OECD, Organization for Economic and Cooperation Development rankings, we have one of the best health systems in the world, and the result can be seen in life expectancy, 85 years. When pandemic broke out, we found that ICU, intensive care unit, weren't enough. We have to receive material and medical aid from Germany, Russia, China, and Cuba. But we have seen that to use this equipment, we needed trained and prepared personnel, suitable environments, available electrical outlets, and specialized nurses. We have observed that each ICU bed, intensive care unit bed, requires of a certain number of doctors and nurses. These are organizational problems, not just medicine. Purchasing, organizational structures, budget and accounting, task and human resources management are aspects that concern management and that determine the success of the system. We must not forget that a convoy travels at the speed of the lowest ship. In a complex system, the failure of a single component can block the whole system. A degraded performance of one component can hold back an entire service. We have experienced that with tampons. We have learned that during the pandemic that the timing for obtaining the outcome of an oropharyngeal swab is fundamental. Long lead times means that tracing reliability is lost and the sufferer can continue to infect. Today, we have sophisticated data science tools that allow you to predict what I will eat on Christmas Day based on my shopping habits and lifestyle. How is it possible that we have not predicted an upcoming pandemic and public behavior, and that we didn't have any detailed and concrete plans to deal with this situation? The shortage is not in medical science, but in our disciplines. As scholars, we have neglected to deal with the managerial and organizational aspects of pandemic. Yet we have many journals dealing with these medical topics. Despite this, we have been caught unprepared by the pandemic, and we are realizing that our health requires commitment not only of doctors and science dedicated to medical science, but also, and this moment above all, of management scholars. We must also observe how demographics are changing the demand in terms of the size and nature of medical care. This aged population requires treatment for many people affected by chronic disease. The way in which it will be designed and organized will have great importance on the level of effectiveness of the treatment and on the cost of health system. Investment in technology to make home livable for the elderly make it possible to postpone the withdrawal in a retirement home to satisfaction of the citizen and saving for the taxpayer. This will involve a great deal of staff training to build IT, logistical, health skills, and corporate culture sensitive to the fact that citizen tax money is being invested. As senior scholars, I believe that we must encourage colleagues and young academics to devote themselves to the study of ICT applications that help to defend the patient and improve their quality of life. I hope that from our meetings and conferences, solutions and proposals will emerge that are useful for facing the challenges that I have mentioned. And that's all for today. Thank you.
Bravo, Marco. Bravo.
Thank you, Marco. Just a question. You mentioned a pretty interesting issue. Why didn't we predict a COVID when we have all this ICT stuff, all these machine learning tools, etc.? So what do you think? What is the major reason of this we could not predict it. Why?
Well, just a question, scientists working always on medicine, then we find that somebody predicted, but I didn't hear before. It's just they couldn't predict the effect, the serious effect. They thought about a normal flu, like many people of us, myself included. At the beginning, I thought it was just like a flu. It's a flu, it's a killing flu.
It's just something, a lack of interaction between medical people and, I don't know, computer science people. Because if those medical people or healthcare people could have this knowledge that we computer science people have in our predictive modeling, in predictive analysis, maybe this cooperation between two areas, healthcare and computer science, could help, and big data could help. Because in my opinion, this predictive modeling should be embedded into everyday practice of any kind of science and any kind of activity, because it makes what we call now a smart healthcare or smart medicine, smart education. So what do you think about it?
I think that the fact to include prediction in every discipline, that's important. We didn't predict. We found every day we found some new achievement, and we didn't expect. We weren't prepared at all. I think we weren't prepared at all. We are seeing these days in France, in Italy, and in Belgium. Belgium paid a very high tribute to this disease. I hope things are going better in Russia. What about Russia?
It's the same. We are not on an island somewhere far away from any other countries. We are in the same world, and this pandemic just shows how we are all connected, actually.
We are all connected.
We all are connected to the same degree, to the same level, or nearly the same level, but we all are in the same boat,
We have to wait until 2 months ago to have a standard protocol when somebody came to hospital and with this kind of symptoms. We just needed 2 months to learn what was the right therapy for somebody with coronavirus.
Yeah, you're right, Marco. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marco. And stay with us. According to our program, the next speech goes to Professor Mauro Gatti. Hi, Mauro.
Hi, hello, everybody.
You can start.
Yes, thank you very much. I really glad to Professor Aliona Fedorova to have invited me to this very important conference. And also, I'd like to thank very much Professor Marco De Marco, who I know very, very well, and also to Professor von Broek. I'm really glad to meet you here for the first time, but I read a lot of your writings, so it's a pleasure for me to be here. Yes, as I'm teaching organization at Sapienza University of Rome, and I also hold a course on leadership and organizational change, which, as Professor Marco De Marco just said, has a lot to do with the also with the spread of this pandemic. Since I firmly believe that it's not for me a problem of using data, since I think we have been so strongly acknowledged about the spread of previous pandemics over time, and especially in recent years in such areas like Middle Asia or Asia or Africa as well. In my opinion, in my modest opinion, I think we have not, we didn't have the will to use data and to prevent this pandemic, since data were really available and we did know a lot about the spread of a pandemic. I think this problem of using data and extracting value from data is a problem which is a strong problem even in the organizations. And so on my presentation, and I like to also to share some slides about that, is about how companies right now, as I'm witnessing it here in Italy, are striving in becoming much more data-driven. So by embracing a data-driven organizational culture. So if you don't mind, I try to share my, but I think I should be enabled to share my presentation. So I don't know if Aliona, could you please enable me to?
You can. Let's try. Screen demonstration.
Just try to.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
yeah, it works.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I like to start by addressing some introductory concepts, and then moving to what does it mean for companies to be data-driven today, and then I will focus much more on organizational culture issues and the data-driven organizational culture. So as we all know, our societies today are really forged by digital technologies and especially data technologies. So we all know the phenomenon of big data and how this phenomenon is associated with using large quantity of digital traces that we on a daily basis we live every time we use a digital device. But data-driven and big data is just not about data. We are, for sure, we need sophisticated algorithms in order to recognize patterns that are behind data and transform a huge amount of unstructured data into predictive or prescriptive models that support decision making. So big data is the real potential to transform traditional business, as demonstrated by such new companies in the last 20 years, such as Uber, Amazon, and companies like this, like Airbnb, etc. These all those companies also to better support decision making, so to transform, to deeply transform how companies use data and how they do produce knowledge in order to support decision making. So this is a very strong change in how organizations, they gather, they share, they manage knowledge in order to support decision making. As you probably you know, there are different dimensions, many dimensions associated with big data. So not so strangely, all those dimensions, they do start with a V. So data volume, velocity, variety, value, variability, veracity, and visualization. Those are all dimensions of big data. But I just want to focus on data veracity because the number, item number 6, because I strongly believe that the reliability of data sources and the quality of data that are used, that are managed within an organization would be the very and the more critical dimension among all these dimensions. So veracity is about, as others said, analyzing high quality, reliable data is an imperative. And this enables management to make a decision, better decision, and derive business value. So about this dimension, veracity, I really believe that a quality system, a data quality system, would be necessary in order to, and defining as well a set of rules within the organization that deals with having access or enabling others to access, to use, to manage data, and also data protection must be system must be in place in order to secure a proper use of data. So we all know that analytics, data analytics are associated with 3 kinds of analytics. We have descriptive analytics that just describe what happened in the past. So descriptive analytics, they tell us facts as they happened. So they describe what happened in the past. But advanced analytics have to do with predictive and especially with prescriptive analytics that help organizations to discover unknown patterns, so to forecast and even to prescribe actions by using a large set of statistics and mathematics models and approaches. What is a data-driven company? Because in my experience here in Italy, I'm normally following what is going to happen, what is happening right now in many Italian organizations, as well as worldwide organizations, and especially in large organizations. So a data-driven company is a company that has the ability to extract value from data. Data that are gathered from so many different sources. What is really important in this area is not gathering data, since we have a lot of sources, we have, overload of data. But what is important is trying to detect those weak signals that data contain. So that's the reason why the data analytics approaches are in place in order to enhance the competitive advantage of organization. What is important, as we will see in a few moments, is also not only using predictive and prescriptive techniques, but also data visualization. So how data are presented to managers, and the process simulation that it enables. In order to build a data-driven organizational culture, we need to understand that a strong change in decision-making is required in order to have a data-driven culture in place. So being data-driven means to strongly rely on data for better decision-making, just by reducing the scope for intuition. So this also means that relying on data requires a strong shift from using intuition, using experience, or using imagination, and that for somebody like McAfee and Brignoles requires requires a management revolution. So just really transforming the way managers make decisions, and we all know that decision making is one of the main feature of the leadership style. So a new leadership style is required in order to transform the organizational culture into from an analogic organizational culture to a digital and especially a data-driven organizational culture. So I firmly believe that this requires an organizational transformation. Here I use a behavioral perspective, especially enhanced by Blumenthal and Aspeslag in 1944, which says that a transformation occurs when you have a fundamental and substantial change in the behaviors of the majority of the components of the organization. So this is a change in a mindset, in the mindset of, in the attitudes, as well as in behaviors of the majority of employees. So even included managers, obviously. So a data-driven company is a company that builds on a new decision-making approach. A one that relies on, let's say, evidence-based or supported by decision support systems and business intelligence as well, in order to make predictions and having a clear understanding of what actions are required, especially in such critical situations as the health care systems all over the world right now have. So, but we need to be careful because being data-driven does not imply that algorithms decide in place of human beings, of managers especially, but that decision makers must accept to be supported, to be driven by predictive models elaborated by data scientists working on big data. So here we have a conjunction because, you know, as building a data-driven culture within the organization requires new skills, new jobs, new roles, and especially hiring, a massive hiring of new profiles, such as data scientists, and defining for them very different roles within the organization. So I just want to focus here on the data-driven architecture, which is the main infrastructure that so the hard variable that is needed in order to build and to spread the organizational the data-driven organizational culture. So before analyzing how the organization transform its culture, it is important to understand the data-driven architecture that starts by defining business challenges, very specific business challenges, to use data, to gather data, and focusing on the match between organization, process as well, people, technologies, to gather business insight. But all these elements need to be set into within a data quality system. So by recalling what we just said about data veracity. So we need to be sure, and we need a certificated, a certified data quality system. And then we have the governance system. So all this is put within a governance system. Just let me say what are the main pillars of the data-driven architecture. Data governance is a set of rules, procedures, and structure of articulation, meaning here that we need to have a ramification. We need to have not just a central or a centralized entity that you know, defines policies, rules for data governance, but also we need to have a very spread articulation, meaning that data scientists must operate into the business units, into functions, and very, very close to business processes. So the second element, the second pillar is the data infrastructure. So building on digital platforms that allow to valorize the information gathered from data. And obviously the set of rules must, you know, make clear what are the rules of accessing or putting data on this platform, how to use the data, who is enabled to use or to manipulate data here. And the third element of the third pillar of this architecture is the data know-how. Organization needs new competencies, and these is being conceived as the new oil or the new gold here for organizations. But the very key enabling factor is a new organizational culture, as I said before, a data-driven culture that basically relies on a major change in the decision-making process. This meaning that data must become an integral part of people daily working and managers' daily working life. And this is the reason, probably, as Professor De Marco was saying before, is the reason why sometimes managers, even in the health care system, fail. they do not use on a daily basis data, and this requires a major shift in leadership and managers' decision-making style. Here, by drawing on Bernson and others, there are some factors that are capable of enabling the data-driven architecture. So an active involvement of the top-level management, data governance and data quality, training is a main human resource practice that should be used. User-friendly, so this is very important for attracting managers in using data, so or algorithm, having a real easy to use interface, visualization, recommendation. So this is a dashboard issue, how you conceive and how you build on dashboards that are easy to use and very attractive for managers, and enabling easy access to data for employee. Here we have some insights about data specialists, or the know-how which is required to build on a data-driven architecture. And here is the main issue. So how to build a data-driven organizational culture. So by here, I just want to focus on some resistances to change. As we all know, there is a state, who possess information possess power within the organization. So here we need to push managers to be acknowledged that they must leave some power on the road when using a data-driven approach, because data must be shared all around the organization. So I need to share my data, and even when they are critical data for the organization, that means that I should be willing to seize and to lose my power. So this is a strong resistance to change for managers. Then there is a problem in pilots. So by introducing a data-driven approach, because those pilots sometimes are perceived as challenging the skills and jobs of the middle managers. So by opening up doors for automated, really automated decision makers, maybe this is a future scenario we should be carried. So another issue is that top-level managers should be involved in the process of algorithm generation. That's meaning that there must be a shared language or a shared system of codification among data scientists and business managers, because here they have sometimes a gap in understanding each other. Then we have algorithm aversion, which is a very interesting experienced bias when managers they see a failure, or that algorithms are not working, are not performing in a proper way. They are willing to abandon algorithm and to come back to to get back to intuition and imagination, or etc. And so the inability of the chief digital officer in internal communication to deliver the right messages to middle managers for establishing the proper climate about how to deal with big data and algorithm. So generating a too high expectation is one of the resistance to change. And sometimes the data-driven culture is not supported by adequate policies and practices by the human resource management. So here I just like to say that sometimes there are limitation of a misunderstood data-driven culture, because you know, sometimes this could be seen as a renewal of the scientific management that we experienced with Frederick Taylor at the beginning of the 20th century. So the attempt to establish a new scientific management, meaning that not all decisions should be based on data. So by concluding, because I think I have no more time, but you know, my presentation is at disposal of whoever wants to use it. So the main question is about the spread of the data-driven organizational culture. So, you know, there are some decisions that are not, that could not be usefully supported by data-driven. For example, those decision-making that will continue to be based on imagination, experimentation, and communication. So what is helpful to understand here is that, you know, being data-driven does not mean that you know, algorithms must decide for us, but this also leaves an open window for an open room for continuing to use intuition, imagination for some kind of decisions. Okay, so thank you very much. So I don't know if you have some questions that I can answer.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Mauro. As usual, your speech
very long. Sorry.
So unfortunately, some participants have to go. I don't know. We lost Professor Jan van Broeke.
Oh, I'm
yes.
here.
Ah,
No.
Great. Thank you very much for your waiting.
Sure, no problem. I enjoyed the presentation very much.
Your time.
Can you, can I share some? Oh yeah, very good. Okay, then thank you very much. First of all, I'm very honored to be part of this. I'm very happy to see the Russian chapter of the EIS developing so nicely. It has been a privilege to be part of your community from the very beginning, and I'd like to really congratulate you very much on all your achievements. And so it's really fantastic to be part of this, to share some thoughts in the area of business process management, as we have discussed. But it's also really beautiful to see the crowd of people you are able to pull together here. So I think that being here now together with Marco and Mauro Gatti and others, I think this is really something fantastic, which would have not happened without the Russian chapter. So really, congratulations also for doing this and for keeping up the spirit even in these difficult times. When Marco started his fantastic opening note, I first thought I choose a different slide deck because I would have loads to say in relation to this. How can it be that we were not able to predict pandemic? And I think Mauro gave a fantastic answer to this also, which I would relate to, that we, on the one hand, we sort of have not been aware of it, and we have not been aware of kind of collecting the data and analyzing it accordingly, which is also because we are always now a disciplinary silos, I think, right? And there is ongoing work. We are pushing. Some of you may have seen at the Business Process Management Conference my presentation on a new field we call process science, where we actually like to overcome this silo thinking. And in either that would have been really nice. So process science, and so this was what I was considering probably to pull out a couple of those slides from this presentation. I think would be exactly the idea to overcome silo thinking and to pull together as much data as we are able to pull together, but then also not only analyzing data, but really for the sake of societal value, right? So not only showing the one algorithm is faster than the other, or here is a smarter pattern or whatever, but going beyond this in order to really inform real world decision making and real world behavior and processes. So whoever would be interested in this, or maybe we can connect on another occasion on this, I think that would be very fascinating to share. There's also a website, processscience.org, and you're very happy to connect on this. But then Mauro, I think, very nicely shifted also towards the enterprise perspective and brought the topic much closer again to what I had prepared in the very beginning. So I really decided to keep to what I had prepared. And this is ongoing research, which is kind of related, but it takes more the enterprise perspective, so, or the organizational perspective. So how can now an organization benefit from technology? How can an organization navigate in these times successfully? And you know that a lot of attention has been put on process management or digitalization, and if you follow these discussions, you see also, as Mauro nicely illustrated, often organizations, they again look at single aspects, sometimes only the technology, but they don't think of what would that do with the culture, for instance. And here we, over decades, actually we have developed tools and methods, and we have created now a comprehensive framework for managing processes utilizing new technology, and culture, as you will see, is one component of it. So this is then what I would like to briefly present to you in the given time there. And again, we could do much more on this, but I hope to illustrate a little bit and then invite you very much for further discussions. So this framework is called the Business Process Management Billboard, because it really serves as a billboard to plan initiatives, and I'd like to introduce the billboard to you. When I say I introduce the billboard, and I say this work we have conducted over decades, it's not only me who did this, but it's actually really a community effort, and very specifically together with Jan Mentling from WU Vienna and also Michael Roseman from Brisbane. We have shared a lot of experience, which is also documented in a couple of books on business process management. You might be familiar with the International Handbook on Business Process Management, and also probably this cases book here. This cases book, we're very, very overwhelmed, has been downloaded more than 5 million times this year alone, which is thanks to Springer Nature making the book publicly available in times of the pandemic. So that has created a lot of attention, and we have collected now new cases also to publish the second volume of the book, and this is coming out very soon in 2021. And as an introduction to these cases, then we were reflecting on, okay, now what can we learn from all these cases, and what can we probably hand over to organizations to better scope and plan their business process management initiatives, and that is what kind of is then represented in this business process management billboard. Probably this is a little bit of the old agenda. I will kind of try to speed up a little bit here and there so that it wouldn't be too lengthy for you. But real quick, why a BPM billboard? Then what is the BPM billboard? One deep dive example, I've shortened this a little bit, I must say, for the sake of time, but I'd like to give you insights into a real world project we're currently doing with Hilti, where we apply the BPM billboard, and then talking a little bit about how can one use the billboard in more general terms and give a brief summary. So if I may just illustrate the BPM billboard, the whole idea from my personal story, really, then it is that we have been doing research on business process management for such a long time with such a great bunch of people. And I have the feeling we know so much about it. There's sort of kind of ocean on papers and books, and let alone this international handbook has 1,700 pages, yeah, in 2 volumes, and so that's huge. And at the same time, however, I get myself into situations where I fly out to Brazil, for instance, and advise Petrobras on doing business process management, biggest company of the southern hemisphere, and I only had 3 days to study their approach, and then I was expected to give feedback to the board of directors. And I remember my team said, "Don't go, Jan. You won't be, you won't survive this trip, yeah." But I always feel like, no, that's really good. Since we are researchers and scientists in this area, we should really have a saying and leverage every opportunity to talk to industry. Same holds with Hilti, for instance, where we do large scale projects and advising Hilti along the way for now 13 years. And also executive education, you see here St. Gallen as well as University of Liechtenstein, where you can experience that you have really, really high, high expectation people, only have a short time where you can engage with real world practitioners. Now, okay, now how do you do this then? I always ask myself, and I always felt we are kind of probably not good enough, because I cannot hand over the 1,700 pages and say, read it. And I can also not just start talking about them from the beginning to the end. And on the one hand, this would take too long. And on the other hand, I might still have not really told everything I want to talk about. So for me, honestly, it has always been a challenge. And it has been through such engagements in industry and also executive education that I was challenging myself and asked myself, now, how can we probably put all these things I'd like to convey, how can I put this on one page? Is that possible at all? And that was sort of the idea, or the moment where we started to work towards something like a one-page representation on what we would recommend organizations to do in order to apply business process management successfully. And of course, it will be a high-level representation. We understand that, but we wanted to be comprehensive in that it would show everything which needs to be considered, and then it would allow organizations to detail and to navigate through the oceans of content which is available, and it should be really easy to use. So that's what we were hoping to accomplish. So then talking briefly about now, okay, what is the BPM billboard? So what did we come up with? First of all, allow me a little joke. So another one-page representation will be this year, right? So Signavio, you might know, is a really fascinating organization when it comes to a suite to support organizations in doing business process management. And for a good long while, they had this poster on business process management modeling notation, right? And it is really successful in that it pulls everything together which you need on one page, but not for the management of processes, right? But for the modeling of processes, even more so for drawing process diagrams by means of the BPMN 2.0 notation, right? And of course, you can imagine now, if I would have showed this to Petrobras or to Hilti or to my executive students, they would probably have been a bit overwhelmed and they would have probably not initially known what to do with it, right? So we are just showing this, trying to go another direction. So what we try to do is we really try to take a high level perspective on what organizations should be considering when they do business process management. And the first thing is that it is not about a process, it is not about a model, but it is about capabilities in the organization to reflect and further develop processes, right? And this is what is very, very much covered here in also our international handbook, that we say that it's not only about the drawing methods, it's not only about technology, but it's also about the business related areas like strategic alignment and governance. And it is also very much about the people, social elements, like people here in this model refers to skills, HR, and culture. Mauro gave a fantastic presentation on how what that all does to culture. And likewise, we looked into what organizational values should be in place in order to make organizations actually benefit from BPM. On this, at the same time, how would an introduction of BPM would probably influence and change and further develop the organizational values, right? So that is probably the first core level in this BPM billboard. But then at the same time, over the years, I realized that's not enough. It's not enough only to talk about the capabilities, but we need to have clear direction how to develop those capabilities, right? Because if you see now, with the pandemic, we all talk about resilience. Last year, same time last year, we have not talked about resilience at all. Yeah, we talked about innovation, and some talked about. As I went to Petrobras, they were not interested in innovation. They were interested in productivity, for instance, right? And so I so much learned. We really need to, first of all, really deeply understand what an organization is interested in, what is really on the agenda of the organization. What is it CIOs or C-level people would think about first when they wake up in the morning, and that we need to probably not invent, but we need to identify it, and then we need to make sure that we relate our initiatives to these strategic considerations. Talking about strategy, now here's my co-worker. May I introduce Miki to you? Yeah, you know Marco, don't you? Miki?
Hello.
Oh, we need to catch up again. So Miki, I'm just giving a presentation. Would you have this banana for a moment? And after the banana, you can have some of those here. Is that okay? Yeah? Yeah, would you give me a minute? Thank you, love. Thank you. So, so the individual context also, you know, we need to understand the context, because it makes such a big difference if an organization would be big or small, or it would be in the one region, or it would be in the other region, or if an organization has just finished 5 successful projects, or it would have probably just finished 5 not successful projects, right? So even the mood of an organization would play an important role there. Okay. And then also we realize that when we go through this, it is important to define very specific projects. So this is a high-level representation, but it serves to start with a strategy, identify the context, and then go through the capability areas, and then derive very specific projects in order to further develop those capabilities towards the strategy in the given context. For instance, relating to Mauro's presentation, I once did a project with a local company. It was not Hilti, and I wouldn't reveal the name here, but it was a really, really strong technology company. And they asked us to do a business process management project with them, and we applied the billboard structure, and we came up with the finding that the organizational culture in this company would not be ready in order to do business process management. And we actually developed a measurement tool so that we were able to evaluate data-driven, also, yeah, evidence-based, the perception of the organization. And we found that, we looked into demographics also, we found that newly hired people, first and second year with the company, had the perception this was not an innovative company, even though it really was, right? So and that we found out through applying this billboard. And now you can imagine if you run through this company and talk to everybody and say, look, you need to be innovative with your processes because we are an excellent company and we are innovation oriented and so forth. And people don't even get that this innovation plays a major role, then you have a very hard time. So we first looked at the culture and tried to understand why is it that they are really perceived that it's not an innovative company. And we came up asking, why could that be? And turned out they haven't had an onboarding process, a proper onboarding process, right? So they just threw people in cold water, and then they were like, whoa, this is a bit chaotic here. You know, they didn't really get it. And I would have never expected such a recommendation to introduce a welcome at XYZ week as a result of a business process management project, right? But it was exactly the right thing to do, and it was only visible since we were looking at it through the lens of the BPM billboard. And now again, a little humorous aspect. If you look at this little red square there, what is it? It's the BPMN notation, right? You might recall the BPMN notation poster showing that this is super relevant, but it is really focusing on a tiny bit of what needs to be done altogether. It needs to be, it makes an important contribution in the method section, but it needs to be aligned, with technology, as well as alignment, governance, people and culture, and all the other areas. Okay. So I brought you a little definition here. That's usually what we do. So we identify the strategy first, then look into the context, then look into the capabilities and derive the projects. And also what I did is I brought you a little example from the first volume of the BPM cases book. There is the case of SAP. So how SAP introduced business process management. And it's interesting because it is kind of revealed and it is published there, and we used kind of the case to better understand now what illustrates what the billboard does. So for instance, now here, the strategy was very much to say innovative solutions, it's about productivity of processes, and more specifically, the company wanted to transform from a bit more complex project structure to a more agile and simple processes. Yeah, so that was making processes more agile and simple for the sake of productivity and innovativeness. Then we looked into the context. Makes a big difference if my university would like to do it, or if a company like SAP now would like to do it. They had like 44 years of history. They had 300,000 customers, 190 countries. Yeah. So really from that, I think you can learn, you don't want to mess it up, right? So this needs to be sort of solid, something really bulletproofed before you introduce it and change the way such an organization would do the processes. And then let me just walk you very briefly through those areas. They looked into technology and methods. The first interesting element, which I was very happy to see in this case, was they realized, okay, technology doesn't play the big role here, right? So they looked at it and said, like, we're good enough, right? So that's not a big problem, right? And then in methods also they said it's not too bad. Like we have like a process map, and of course we could do better, but we should further develop it gradually. But it's not really kind of the match making aspect. Further, then they however identified that more the social side, the people side here was a key issue, right? And they realized that they would like to much more develop a BPM community of people, introducing much more training, and also to introduce something like a culture of excellence, right? Of process excellence. That's very nicely relating to Mauro's nice presentation here also. And then later on, they also looked into and said, okay, the measurement, yes, we would like to introduce a performance measurement system, but also that is all kind of all right. They had this in place, but what they were very much identifying to lack was also the governance structure, and they introduced something like a productivity consulting group. All right. Okay. Very good. Look, so this is an example here now how you can use the billboard in order to structure and to prioritize what you need to do, because there could be so many different things you do, and there's so much in the literature, there's so much knowledge out there. But the question is, you know, what is really strategically important and relevant in my contextual situation? So where do I allocate my limited resources to go first? Okay, so let me give you a very brief deep dive into how we are at the moment applying the billboard, also in a large-scale project with Hilti. You would know Hilti as a world market leader in fastening technology. It's a Liechtenstein family company, and very generously sponsoring and supporting also our research and education at our university. And of course, it's a fascinating case to study. And now you see here, Hilti has been awarded for excellence in business process management only a few years ago in 2017. And at the same time, they last year already asked me, can you consult us to really innovate business process management at Hilti, right? So also, I think nicely showing the ambition level, just being awarded and thinking this is the right time now to do it probably different. What we did then, and it just show you know the results, was we very strongly looked into the role of context, because this is something which is often really neglected. In process management, often companies, they look for, and researchers also, the unified way to do it, right? So that's the way you should do it. And this my belief, my strong belief from research and practice is that this wouldn't fly, right? So very often in the contrary, the reason for failure is that that you try to apply a unified approach. And this is what we did loads of research on context aware business process management. And here in the project with Hilti, we developed a survey, and actually we surveyed all global process owners in the company to characterize their processes. And that of course was huge data crunching, but this was what came out. We decided in the end to differentiate processes according to these two dimensions. The one is the variability. So when the process runs, would it run always the same, or would the instances run different? Would they vary a lot? And that can be low and that can be high. And at the same time, it could be there is the frequency. So is this a process which runs 100, 200, 1,000 times per day, producing nails, for instance, or is it rather like a strategy development process or sort of an accounting process which happens probably once a year or so. So and in these dimensions, then we were able to identify 4 types, and we are now in the process of developing context type specific BPM approach, right? So and I think it's very nice. You can see the performance cluster processes which run very, very often, and whenever they run pretty much the same. Yeah. So you can understand there's a lot of reason in really streamlining those processes, because there's this huge quantity. So every little thing would actually have a huge effect. And it's also worth investing into streamlining the process, because once you have streamlined it, the variability sort of is low. On the contrary, however, the opposite way, you have processes low frequency, but very high variability. So they happen once in a while, and whenever they happen different. Wow. So that is, I'd say, a big challenge, and definitely to be managed very different than the high performance process. And then we have those different processes in between. We have also low frequency and low variability. So even though the variability is not high, the process happens so seldomly that you would like to remind process performers on how to do the process, right? So you look more into checklists, for instance. Yeah, so your text declaration, for instance. Yeah, every once in a while you do it, you need to get your head around, okay, now what needed to be done there, right? It's not that it is kind of a frequent practice you're having. And then there is sort of this agility cluster, which I'd say is particularly interesting because it has a very high frequency. So processes happen very, very often, but when they happen, they still happen very different all the time. And this is something where you analyze the deviance, right? You could apply data analytics, for instance, in order to challenge the deviance, which is positive deviance, negative deviance, where can I reduce deviance, where do I need the deviance, where is it value adding and value creating. Okay, so I won't go into too much detail here, just to illustrate, we use then those clusters in order to customize the capability areas. And you see the difference, like in the high performance cluster, you have ERP system workflow, you have automation, you have probably process models like BPMN. While on the other side, in the innovation cluster, it's not really so much about automation and standardization. It's much more emphasis on the role of people, on their knowledge, on their network, on, you know. So you see, I think from here, from this example, these two types of processes require pretty different management. And if you try to manage them according to a unified approach, very likely to not be successful. So, and we, at the moment, we are fleshing this out in more detail, and we realize that we have different institutional logics there. There's the institutional logic more of the automation, then more of knowledge management, more of project management, and more of complexity management. So maybe at another occasion, we can discuss this in much more detail. Maybe now, to sum up.
Sorry, Jan. We have no so much time.
Okay. Very good. Then let me just go to this slide to conclude. It's a very exciting project we are doing at the moment, which is together with Signavio to create a poster on the BPM billboard, together with Jan Mendling and Michael Roseman. So this will be available for practical use around the world very soon, which I think is something we love to see a lot. So concluding, it's time for a tool to plan and scope BPM on a one-page representation to better plan, communicate, and coordinate BPM initiatives to make them strategically fit, context sensitive, and capability oriented. That's what we hope to do. We see value in this for students, practitioners, and researchers alike. And I very much look forward to the book coming out, as well as the Signavio poster coming out. And please stay in touch. That was a fast run through a lot of stuff, which is exciting. Whoever finds an interest in this, I'm more than happy to engage and have further conversations on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We will stay in touch, no doubts.
Yeah, just an easy question. Last slide, you mentioned that for students, there is something interesting because, yeah, I can see your book like a very good textbook on BPM. And this BPM billboard is just a perfect tool to visually illustrate all this process stuff, process management stuff. Yeah. So are you going to introduce it into some kind of courses or whatever?
Yes, I structure all my courses according to the billboard. In executive education, in our master program, it really gives, a conceptual frame in order to structure and relate the various content. And this is needed because the content is so different. On one day you talk about culture, the other day you talk about robotic process automation, and then you talk about KPIs, and this is like, difficult to relate to one another. But with the billboard, this really helps a lot for the students. For me personally as well.
It's like a great tool, educational tool.
Yes, thank you very much for mentioning this. I'm very happy to apply it also in the Russian context and to deliver a couple of courses there.
Good, thank you.
Thank you very much, Jan.
Thank you too.
I would like to invite our next speaker, Professor Antonio Renzi. Antonio.
Hi. Can you hear me? Okay.
Your time.
Okay.
Okay.
I wait that Jean leave his slide. Okay. So first of all, I would like to thank organizers to inviting me for this important meeting, and I also glad to meet Professor De Marco, because I studied a lot of articles of Professor De Marco, especially a lot of years ago when I did my PhD thesis. And this is the first time that I have had the possibility to see the face of Professor De Marco. And okay, now I'll try to share.
I'm pleased to meet you.
Okay. I try to share my slides. And okay, now my talk is going about income smoothing and risk transfer. This topic is linked to digital economy, but I guess that I don't have the time to explain better this link. So in my talk, I just limited to explain a theoretical model as well as an initial part of empirical analysis. The general idea of this work is to analyze relationships between strong shock in revenues, income smoothing, and intertemporal risk transfer. That's the agenda. So first of all, let me start with a couple of words about the bottom-up approach to analyze income's volatility, because it is a sort of antecedent of the theoretical framework that I'm going to present. Then I'll focus on the intertemporal risk transfer as a tool to mitigate the leverage effect on EBIT volatility, research hypothesis and theoretical matrix, fast empirical results, and then I'll try to provide some conclusions and theoretical perspectives. So this slide is about the general framework of what the bottom-up approach to measure risk is about. Here we have two kinds of risk, unlevered risk and financial risk, but we can focus just on unlevered risk, which is basically an operating risk, and it depends on intrinsic business risk, first of all, and intrinsic business risk is a consequence of external factors, for instance, sectors volatility, as well as internal decisions. And on the other hand, the unlevered risk depends on structural features of the firm. From an accounting point of view, we can say that the unlevered risk is a consequence of fixed investments, which are a source of fixed costs. Fixed costs are driver of operating leverage, and you know the operating leverage is a typical internal risk driver. So the idea is that a firm can manage the operating leverage by working on intrinsic business risk and operating leverage, where a typical proxy of intrinsic business risk is volatility in revenues. Now, this slide is a sort of formalization of the above reasoning. Now, I don't actually to analyze in deep such questions for reason time. I just wanted to provide the general meaning of this approach. First of all, you know, the degree of operating leverage measures the elasticity of operating profit against the dynamic of revenues. If we suppose stability about price per unit, cost per unit, and fixed cost, we can say that the operating leverage depends especially on constant fixed cost. Okay, and the last question tells us that the operating leverage is a multiple of the intrinsic business risk, or if we wish, the effect of the intrinsic business risk on EBIT volatility. But this equation doesn't take into account the possibility for a firm to make net income smoothing through an intertemporal risk transfer. Now I'll try to explain this point. So we have that the effect of the combination between shocks in revenues and cost structure on net operating incomes may be avoided or mitigated if the firm can quickly change some conditions, for instance, the price per unit or the cost per unit in the relationship with the suppliers, fixed costs, taking into account the relationship with workers, and so on. So we have that the net income smoothing is a consequence of the risk transfer. The firm transfers risk towards one or more kinds of its internal as well as external stakeholders. And so we have expected shocks in revenues, degree of operating leverage, the combination of such two factors determines the unlevered risk, volatility about operating profit. This kind of volatility is a negative variable in relation to the enterprise value. To avoid this negative effect, especially big corporations tend to smooth incomes, especially operating incomes. And when we talk about net operating income smoothing, there are basically two kinds of smoothing. Artificial smoothing, and it is based just on accounting techniques, accruals, amortization, and the real smoothing. Real smoothing is more linked to the risk transfer, and this analysis is related to real smoothing. Okay, and okay, research hypothesis and the theoretical framework, which is based on a typical managerial matrix with 4 regions. The first hypothesis is that both the firm size and the fact to belong to a group foster to achieve an operating income smoothing through an intertemporal risk transfer towards suppliers. The second hypothesis is that the intertemporal risk transfer towards employees is lower than the case of transfer risk towards suppliers. And the last one, the intertemporal risk transfer towards employees is lower in the case of small businesses than the case of a bigger corporation. So let me provide some clarifications about such 3 hypotheses. In the first case, we have, first of all, the market power. The market power is important in relation to the possibility to transfer risk. And, you know, typically, the market power belongs to big corporations. The second point is about group interactions. Group interactions are important because into the same group, it is possible to transfer risk. Suppose that a firm of a group has a shock about its revenues, and this firm can move its workers towards another company which work in the same inside the same group. The second hypothesis arises from the higher contractual protection that normally workers who work in a bigger corporation have than workers who work in small businesses. And the last hypothesis is linked to the unions protection. You know, in the case of a bigger corporation, unions protect the workers in higher way than the case of small businesses. Okay, this matrix is the theoretical framework. We have, as I said, 4 regions. The vertical side is about the firm size, so small companies, bigger companies. The horizontal side is about structural interactions, single companies and companies which belong to a group. And we have a northwest region, northeast, southeast, and the southwest and the southeast. In the case of northwest, we have the combination between a high level of structural interactions with high size of the firm. In this case, according to which our theoretical hypothesis, we have high intertemporal transfer of a level risk towards suppliers and a low medium intertemporal risk transfer of a level risk towards employees. In the case of Northeast, we combine single companies with high size of those companies. So it implies high medium intertemporal transfer of a level risk towards suppliers and low intertemporal transfer of a level risk towards employees. In the case of Southwest, low medium intertemporal transfer of a level risk towards suppliers, medium intertemporal transfer of a level risk towards employees, and then in the case, finally, in the case of Southeast, low intertemporal transfer of risk towards suppliers and medium intertemporal transfer risk towards employees. This matrix is the core of an article that I have already published with a colleague of mine at the Sapienza, who is Gianluca Vagnani. And now with Vagnani, we are working on an empirical analysis. Okay, so we are verifying our theoretical framework. So far, we have analyzed more or less 20,000 on firms, and in this slide we have the first results, which are consistent with our hypothesis. For example, in the case of Northwest, we have that the transfer of risk towards a supplier is 76%. Okay. Instead, for the same region, the risk transfer towards employees is almost 80%. If we look at the Northeast, we can see that the transfer of risk towards suppliers is high, like almost the case of Northwest, but the level of risk transfer towards employees is almost half than the case of Northwest. So it is a confirmation, it is a demonstration on the fact that structural interactions matter, okay? In the case of Sud-West, we have transfer of a leverage risk towards suppliers around 68% and 8.5% in the case of workers. And finally, Southeast, the transfer of a leverage risk towards suppliers is 11.5% and 6% in the case of employees. So some conclusions and theoretical perspectives. First of all, initial empirical results seem to confirm our theoretical hypothesis. So far, the empirical analysis have demonstrated that strategies aimed to smooth EBIT implied asymmetrical volatility. It is important. I don't have the time to explain this point because it is not just a statistical result. I mean, when there is a shock, a negative shock in revenues, suppose that a firm reduces the reward of suppliers in the measure of 80%. But when we have the same shock, but in terms of a positive shock in revenues, the increasing of suppliers' reward is symmetrical, is again 80%. It is important from several points of view because the relationship between big corporation and its suppliers is not just based on a contractual relationship, but it is often a strategic relationship. Anyway, the third point is that the analysis may be enlarged, taking into account the financial leverage. And then we have the point 4 and 5 that we can discuss about them because they are a link between our analysis and the digital economy. On the one hand, it could be interesting to analyze the role of intangible investments in relation to the possibility to make intertemporal risk transfer, okay? And about that, a specific focus regards digital companies where it is likely a higher margin to make a net income smoothing through processes of risk transfer. I mean, the intangible resources helps a firm to transfer risk to other economic actors. And it could be seen as a good thing as well as a negative thing. Because especially in this period, consider that such studies about smoothing and risk transfer are become more and more important since the last financial crisis, 2007, 2008, and now they are important for the COVID crisis. So what happens that a firm, a digital firm, which has a high level of intangible resources against tangible resources, can operate with a low level of sunk cost. Okay, so has a higher possibility to transfer risk. So from a micro point of view, it is a good thing, but from a macro point of view, it is a source of systemic risk because we have that into a certain network, big corporation transfer their risk caused by a shock in revenues towards a number of stakeholders. They are not just supplier. In our analysis, for us, we focus just on suppliers, but they could be banks, could be public administration, and so on. Okay, so it is, I think that it could be an interesting field to inquire. Okay, thank you. I am here if you want to ask questions or provide comments.
Thank you very much, Antonio. Unfortunately, we have no time for questions.
Okay, don't worry.
I have to remind that the duration of each speech is 10 minutes.
Yes, because I have another call.
Anyway, we can collect questions if people can send us using chat. We can collect these questions and then we can send it to presenters.
Yes. So keep in touch. So keep in touch, okay, Antonio?
Okay, now I have to leave you. Thank you for this invitation, and I hope see you as soon as possible face to face. Okay.
Thank you.
We hope so.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Stay with us. And now I would like to invite our speaker from Bulgaria, Professor Albena Taneva. Albena.
Hello.
Albena, hi. I'm very glad to welcome you.
It's a real pleasure to be here. And I have to start with sharing what I just wrote to Alona, that Professor Tanev couldn't be with us as there is a medical issue in the family. And well, we all have to be flexible. And in terms of priorities, we have to deal with this, and it's a COVID situation. So, well, I will try to have this as a good news in terms of timing. So he will participate later in a written form in the publication. And I myself was really very pleased to follow all the presentations so far. And it could be really clear how important leadership as a knowledge and as a notion is for nowadays. And as you can see, my presentation is also dedicated to this concept in the context of our digitalized world. So I will really keep short, and while listening, I had the advantage to delete all the slides and to leave just one as a picture. And we'll say just briefly the overview on what I intended to say. And I hope that the cases included in this presentation will help to go in details in the written paper for the publication. But still, I'm challenged to say something beyond what I intended to say. And it was provoked by all of your really interesting and inspiring presentations. So, especially with you, Professor Gatti. Speaking of big data and metadata, from one hand, and from the other hand, the knowledge of leadership, we have kind of two realms, and if we don't have a conjunction, then we don't have anything. I can just mention an example of institution called IHRI, European Holocaust Research Infrastructure, which is a really great and smart idea to put in touch all different possible archives and based on metadata. and thus to make it easier for any researcher being wherever in the world to be able to get the knowledge where certain information and archives are located, and it really spares time. But before this project was developed, actually everything was prepared in terms of its digital part as infrastructure, as transfer of metadata to usable format. But before experts on the very issue were not involved, it wasn't possible to go further in achieving objectives of this really smart project. And the other example I give is from, well, like 15, 20 years of experience of being professor and trainer in leadership here in Sofia, Bulgaria, and different places in Bulgaria. And when I do a sensitivity training, I would say that more than 19% of the cases of all different participant couples, when they start giving directions to the follower, what spontaneously the leader does in this game is to start giving instructions step by step what to do and how to avoid the particular obstacle, instead of giving the general picture and using the previous knowledge of the participant, of the follower, being blinded for the sake of the game, and thus to make the whole process more efficient. What is my point? My point is that without imagination of the leader and new competencies of the digital era, but still the most important, the imagination and giving direction to the processes, we could have all these fields separated, and the answer is the leader. So what was my title is Leadership Methodology in Digital Environment. And the basis for the entire presentation is this typical picture, which gives us an idea how one and the same approach works both for the world we know as leadership. I would say is kind of a theater type of skill, while digital world challenges all of us, asking to move from the theater to the cinema age. So it's obviously it's a revolution, and it challenges us to be able to transfer all our abilities and ways to attract attention and to achieve results, to transfer all these abilities, so to say, from the theater experience, if this is a good metaphor for everything we do in our analog type of world, to the digital one, and still to have it working and still to have it with results. So what I can say that, well, it seems that it's exciting to live in such an advanced age, and that while planes took us farther and further, and life is getting faster, and the calendar is so fast that by time you write the seasonal greetings for the new year, so it's gone and it's time for new ones. And multitasking has become a primary skill of modern men. And it seems, if that seems like a lot, we can add technologies and smart devices and internet itself. and the world has multiplied itself. And if we imagine us from above, probably we resemble kind of a brown movement of brown practicals, so we need a direction. And nevertheless, the digital era is a completely new way of life. Still, I believe it's instrumental, and it from one hand it's a new scope, but from the other hand it's an instrument, and it's a new opportunity for anybody on the globe to have a new pace, a new scale of being a leader. So we don't have just organizations and institutions, but we perform already more and more on one and the same global stage. Even this conference or this period of COVID, which keeps us more isolated in terms of physical contact, actually, as far as social distancing is concerned, we are in a way closer. We participate more often in conferences. Sometimes we participate simultaneously in 2 or 3 or more different things using the ability of internet and of cyberspace. So the digital competencies are one of the most important ones in order to support anything we feel like achieving. So universities all over the world have new stage for competing with each other for the good sense of the word. We have new libraries, if they are new digital infrastructure for entering libraries we otherwise wouldn't be able to use. So my main point is that leadership in the digital era is both challenged to find a way to be efficient and successful in order to get followers, in order to achieve the objectives of all of them. But from the other hand, only these ones who are able to be flexible and to enter with competencies, without prejudices, without being biased, in this new way of life and new era. These are going to be the new important ones. Those who can use the methodology, the knowledge, the competencies in order, however, to achieve the old familiar goals of being together. So the big issue is where the followers are. And I try to be disciplined and being realistic that you all guys here gathered in this really very interesting conference. And again, thank you, the organizers in the Yekaterinburg University. It's a great opportunity to see each other, literally to see, and to share some thoughts and to keep in touch and to come with our detailed and provoking new questions papers. So we will finalize this meeting not with the end of this meeting, but we will feel like staying together because it is interesting and because we can realize that the digital era helps us to go beyond so many stereotypes and so many deficits in understanding of each other. And we can see that, one and the same idea have so many ways to perform on the stage. So trying to be really brief, I will conclude here And hopefully we will make use of the smart idea of the previous presentation, so we will not frighten everybody with a lot of different diagrams, but we will be able to express ourselves in the written form in a way that there will be somebody with feeling to read further. So thank you for your attention, and stay in touch.
Thank you, Albena. Thank you. We'll wait for your paper. And
I will keep listening for another 40 minutes, as the only thing one cannot do is to deliver a lecture and still to participate in the conference. But otherwise, I will be here, and thank you for this great opportunity. Thank you very much. Bye, and good luck to everyone.
Stay with us. Okay. And according to our program, next speaker is Dr. Francisco Jose Lopez de Souza Diniz.
Yeah.
From Francisco?
Just call it Francisco Diniz. It's okay.
It's easier.
It's easier.
Francisco Diniz, but I like your name.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Your long name is very beautiful. We cannot see you.
But why? I don't know why.
Something wrong with camera. Maybe camera is locked.
Your camera maybe is locked.
I don't know. I just put it. I have it here on, but I cannot post my. I don't know what to do.
It seems that your camera is covered with something. So check if your camera is not glued with something. It seems as if there is a piece of paper or something.
No, I don't have anything in front of my computer whatsoever. So I'm always trying to be it, but I don't know why.
Okay, try to share presentation with us.
Yes, okay. That's you can hear my voice. At least. You have my presentation there?
Yes, just a moment. I will try
to put it on. Okay.
Yes, and I hope it is in the dark in Portugal now. No, just.
No. So this camera.
I seen my presentation on.
We don't see anything.
Oh, I said it just yesterday. Okay, so I will, although we are searching for it, I will start by saying that I'm very pleased to participate in this conference. I'm honored to be invited to, and I hope, under the circumstances, that we are all keeping well in the near future, because we don't know about the future itself. But anyway, it is a pleasure. I would say that my presentation is like my country. My country is a very small country, so my presentation it's for a very small perspective. But I think that sometimes in small things we can see greater ones. So.
Я сейчас открою. Just a moment, please.
It's here. I can see it. It's presentation 4.7 Dinish and
Francisco?
Yes, yes.
Can you see your presentation?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you. I can see it. Okay.
Just say me, I will list, okay?
Okay, okay. I will try to be as attached to the 10 minutes as possible. My presentation is about Industry 4.0, individual perceptions about its technologies. So I've already told it's a joint paper. It's a pleasure to be in this conference, and we are. So next one. Yes, okay. So we are here on the fourth in the industrial revolution in today's. But we started in 1784 with the first industrial revolution through technological production based on water and steam power. Then later on, in the beginning of the 20th century, we have electrical energy that provides us with mass production. Then we have in the late 20s, we have the 20th century, we have what we call the first programmable logic control system through the application of IT to the automats of the production. Then we are now in what we call in what we call physical and sort of production. Then we have done research. First of all, we want to say that there is some confusion about what it is 4.0, but we are focused on are our human resources fully committed to new technologies, and how open are we as human beings to welcome and adapt the new environment. And so what we want to answer is this question: how familiar different groups of people with the 4.0 technologies? Okay, that here they are: simulation, Internet on Things, big data and analytics, cloud computer, cybernetic security, horizontal and vertical integration, robotics, augmented reality, and additive manufacturing. This is the new technologies that we have. So we are facing with organizational of work. New technologies need to rethink the organization. Then external environment, we always have to adoption of new technologies are dependent of the maturity when they are with the maturity of their implementation. Human factors, new technology require a new competences and the skills from the workers. Questions: is there any difference between 4.0 technologies accounting to gender, to generation factor, and level of education, and type of studies? Okay, the methodology. We are in a program or in a project with Portugal, Poland, and Latvia. So it is a broader project aiming to identify specific characteristics of among different generations. The Portuguese survey, it's 260 individuals, mainly by using the social networks. We want to test whether the variables are independent, do not exist association, or the variables are dependent, exists association. We use the tool of the chi-square test according to the literature, and we decide about it based on the p-value. The survey was held in March to June 2020 by the social works, so we can have the effect of a small ball. So next one, we have the hypothesis, and this is a very dense slide, but I will try to summarize it to say that we are touching that there is, whether there are any variable association, gender, generation, level of education, field of studies, and knowledge, Internet on Things, augmented reality, data, big data and analytics, the cloud, cybernetic, simulation, systems of integration, additive manufacturing, and robotics. So some results we have, and the results are as follows. If we have a Likert scale between 1 and 5, we can see that here is the mean and the mode of of all the technologies. I can say that the cloud is the bigger one, and then Internet on Things. So to say something about the sample characteristics, we are more female than male. This is normal. We have a generation baby boom until 64, then general X 64 to 84, general Y between 84 and 94, and from 95 on we have the generation Z. So then we have education, basic, high school, university degree, master and doctorate, and missing. And then we have the field of education, economics and management, social sciences and law, tourism, science, technology, engineering and mathematics, health, others, and missing. And then we have next one. We have the abroad of all the hypotheses that were rejected or not rejected. So next one. No, here. It takes some time to change the. Okay, this is the general board. This is another thing that you can see more detailed in the paper. The next one is 2 more slides only. One is to say that the results lead us to assume that the familiarization with the concept of Industry 4.0 is not particularly characteristics for a special group of people. There are no significant differences among education level, field of studies towards the 4.0 technologies. The gender is not, it is verified that men are more comfortable with the concept of big data and analytics than women. And then it was also identified that younger generations, Y and Z, are more confident on following technologies such as augmented reality, simulation, systems of integration. But I want to point out that all these this is a very preliminary result of our research, and therefore, and so the next one. Okay. This is only to point out that the digital transformation of the society, industry, and services, as well as education field, are in a development transition phase, which means that some of the previous results could vary through the time. This is very important. We have to carry on doing this in order to have some so-called conclusion. So this is this ongoing process of research. And as I told you in the beginning, my presentation, our research is only in the beginning. It's taking account of comparison with Poland and Latvia, and we have to augment the sample, but we just started this year. So this is, thank you again for the invitation and for the opportunity to share with you this small and focused conclusion. I will be keen to carry on, but interact with all of you that have the patience to hear me, and perhaps next time with my face on. Thank you.
Thank you, Francisco, for your presentation. So finally we did it. Regardless any communication problems. But now we move on to the next presenter, and it's Trias Setiavati. Are you with us, Trias? Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, I am with.
Hi.
I'm here.
Hi, Trias.
So
yes, wait a minute.
Yeah, I hope I name you right without any problems. Yeah.
Okay. It's okay. May I see? May I share?
Yeah, now we can see you. You can share your presentation with us.
Okay, wait a minute.
Very glad to welcome you. Thank you, Trias, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation. Okay, I will share. Okay, thank you so much for the chance for attending this virtual conference. And thank you for the committee and also the participant that will join this conference until the end. I'm Trias Setiawati from University of Islam Indonesia. I changed this subject here, not female leadership. I use women leadership, challenge and opportunities. I just do like literature review for some of my research here. Yeah, this is mine. Yeah. Some of my presentation will related to background purpose, literature review, and until the conclusion. As we know, the condition of women leaders, there are success, challenges, and opportunities. And I want to know here the success by the woman, the challenges, and also the various of opportunities. And all of the literature review was related to my research. Yeah, here there are about 9 here. In some areas, like in the first one is related to women civil servant, that the condition is still inferior, discriminatory, bias, and stereotype. and also they had double burden and full of problem in domestic task responsibilities, especially for the children. And the physical condition is different, like the reproduction health problem, menstruation, pregnancy, and maintenance of health and family planning. The policy have not favors, yeah, but there are some good thing in women in civil servants for the performance, leadership, emotional maturity, discipline, speed, courage in decision making. And then if they, because we have like 30% for women being a structural position, so if they were appointed, they will be so good, yeah, compared to men. And the condition, sometimes the men feeling to be completed. And also the performance for all of the women here is very good. And the problem here, they always being asked by harmony in the household and interest of their career, because usually after marriage and having children, until the children can go to school by him or herself, they start to develop their career. But before that, it's like a stagnancy of the career. And then the proportional empowerment and 5 levels according to gender. And the second one related to structural official in gender perspective, yeah, is the same condition that in the perspective, the condition is still the same, and the questionable of family harmony is make the woman feeling so suffered, yeah, because if men succeed with the position, they didn't be asked by the harmony of the family, but if the woman, they will be asked about that and make them suffer for or fear of success in their office. There's a research related to lecturer in gender perspective. There is a clear distinction, especially if they have kids, and then decreasing their interest to be like structural official position. And if they had no, they will transform into career. So all of the duties for women and men here, maybe for all of the welfare and awareness, women lecturer will be good. But for access, participation, and control to be more success is less than men. So they had the duties in the domestic rules, yeah. And also if they still so junior, they will be, they would have like so many duties from the managers. Even the formal rules is no spirit discrimination, but in patriarchal culture, the role of woman is not maximum. In the sentence, it look like work is yes, but career is no. Just so for doing their career. The fourth is related to women religious leaders is the same. Even they already been trained, but they still lack of ability to work together, and then need assistance like related to the previous paper related to technology, and also the activity for monitoring and so forth. And custom and culture still discriminate and make the woman and suffering, especially physical condition, yeah, until their elderly age. Also in technical administrative barrier experienced by women leaders here, they still like limited knowledge of health and welfare, social media tools, cooperation network, budgeting advocacy to the government. And then they just in community. So the style is like mother, like pet, and like sexual object. What is related to literature study, it related to gender mainstreaming. That women leaders have different condition. They cannot be equated with male leaders. There are issues of gender injustice and various paradigm of women when it is related to development problem used by researchers and actors. This is like the before finding. So this is imperative to mainstream women leadership studies, and it can provide a large amount of justice to their society. So in this study, we have recommendation to carry out affirmative action. Related to what? Related to increased knowledge, training related to mental attitude, and also related to like technical skills or functional training. There are many types here. And also how to prioritize the role of women leaders, yeah, not only for covering affirmative action for 30% for women. And then we need to empower and develop the special agency from government, the empowerment of women and various supporting devices. It's already happened and built, but the optimum of working is not optimum only. It is leadership in like business related to handicraft here. There is some motivation here, like family, financial reason, family background, personal predisposition, and also the market. But they become a success because of their motive here. And then also they have experience related to injustice in gender and have been experienced so many types like marginalization, subordination, stereotype, violence, and double burden. Women leaders in government organization here is like head of the villages. Here the type is so variative, but they would adapt it with the condition and the work environment and household. It means that the leadership trait also has a different effect on each employee in each agency. The role of career motivation and achievement motivation also has influence on women leaders. Being a leader was not the original goal for each woman, yeah. But over time and career basis in governmental organization make them motivated. The same in justice, gender and equality, stereotypical, it is about gender injustice. Also related to the director of financial work, yeah, here. They tend to choose like a mother style, yeah. Even they can be being assertive, is like Iron Maiden. They had not been marginalized because they had like high education and then had so many experience, and they didn't have any violence experience. Even they still have double burden and home life. And in food business here, the style is like the mother, it's mean like bit passive, yeah. And then like a mother, too many love, but less for like rule or what we call it, like punishment. And then there are several components also, yeah, in here, but one of the study here in food business, yeah, had an experience of gender inequality too. Even she had her own solution for addressing gender inequalities. So here, like some theories that be used for analyzing behavioral contingency, women leadership, and especially women leadership by Kanter here, and their gender equality, and then psychological phenomenon like women leaders tend to have Cinderella complex, communication with a different baby blue syndrome, marriage status, yeah, and physical phenomenon that had premenstruation syndrome, the way to see is different between men and women, the menstruation condition, pregnancy, giving birth, breastfeeding, and so forth. And also the background of women leaders is also influenced their achievement, like the relationship with the father in a child age, with her mother, with her family, with her spouse, and also the cultural environment where she lived. And last is about education level. So women leaders' life has like two words, domestic and public, and cultural here. One to every woman leaders, super in domestic and super in public. While the condition, yeah, women sometimes become a leader in their household, in the family, and also in the professional world. Here too small, yeah, but I found some cases in secondary data related to success factors and also the challenges factor, yeah, of every woman leaders that I tried to count it here and to list it. And as far as the finding, there are two types of challenges, internal and external. Yeah, there are many types here, and there is still many opportunities here related to women multitasking skill, and then the weakness for facing industry 4.0 or 5.0, but it's also opportunities for them. Like the globalization, they can go to work with stay in their home, working from home, business from home, and so forth. It looked like borderless world. And women leaders condition, there are no generalization because some women could be superwoman, but the other woman could be inferior woman. So the condition is very unique and different, but usually in their reproduction, they will be physically different with someone who already mature in their family life. So a new phenomenon that we know about Kamala Harris, yeah, in US now is like new phenomenon of women leaders in US and for coloring and so forth. A conclusion here, women leaders in various profession experience challenges in their career development. They had challenges like internal and external. There are many types of internal and external. And not a few women leaders in various professions can achieve achievement in various professions. But many women leaders who achieve success in various professions despite experiencing various challenges and obstacles. However, there is great hope to play a role and contribute to a world that is prosperous and safe and peaceful. So here we have recommendation to provide additional knowledge to women leaders, yeah, related to many problems, many lack of knowledge and so forth. And also institution related to agencies related to development of potential women leaders should coordinate and share rules regarding various programs that need to be given to women leaders. And last one here related to we need a wider socialization that the role of women leaders is to have positive impact in various professions that affect the world to be more prosperous and peaceful. So that is my presentation from me. Thank you so much for the time. I hope it can be useful for us in this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. 3 years. Judging by the number of your slides, you have a big data. So we wait for your paper, and thank you very much for this speech. And now we have no time for questions. I'm sorry, we collected all questions and sent you via mail, okay? And thank you. Stay with us. And now I'd like to invite our next speaker from Turkey, Hussein Atash.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, and see you. We can see you.
Yeah. Hello, dear participants. My name is Hussein. I am PhD student. Greetings from Turkey to Yekaterinburg and all participants. My English is not very good. However, I will do my best to introduce my work to you. I'm excited. My first international Congress experience. I'm happy to be in this great Congress with you. Thank you so much, dear teacher Alena. I'm grateful too. The presentations I listened to were very instructive. And let's start my slide. 1 second. I will share my slide chat, and then I'm starting share screen. Can you see my slide?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Discussion of the digital transformation of health service in Turkey by hybrid Delphi method. This study will investigate how digital conversion can take place in health services in Turkey. In Turkey, COVID-19 in the process of the pandemic is especially dedicated to fight the virus, all the resources in the health field. Many health services in Turkey couldn't be used unless an emergency occurs. Providing healthcare services online can reduce the workload of healthcare workers and protect citizens and healthcare workers from viral outbreaks. In this study in Turkey, it is intended to identify online which could be offered to healthcare. In the study, theoretical inferences have been made by directly asking doctors who can provide the service how the transition between offline health services and online health services might be. In this respect, it is an original study that offers different options for the provision of health services. Online healthcare has positive and negative aspects for patients and doctors. There are more positive aspects of online healthcare for patients. Online healthcare means better access to doctors, more personalized care for patients, and less expense. The limitation of the study, the method used in this study doesn't allow generalization of the results. However, it is possible to make theoretical inferences and offer solutions about the subject. Online health service, OHS, is defined as the provision of health services such as health information and medical consultations via the internet. Digitalization in the health sector changes the communication roles and relationships between doctor and patient. In recent years, the role of patients has changed from passive addicted to active, informed, and responsible participants. Although providing healthcare services via the internet is gaining popularity around the world, experimental research in this area is very limited. OHS applications started to be seen in the USA in the 1990s. NetClinic is one of the first and important organizations providing online health services. The NetClinic portal offers fee-based medical advice as well as free services. Chen found the patients getting OHS from online health services has a positive effect on their health status. Kuang argues that e-health services in China increase the service quality of doctors and provide additional financial income to doctors. OHS are an increasing service area in Israel too. The online healthcare industry, especially with its chronic disease, is constantly growing. It is advocated that online health services in the United Kingdom should be developed in an evolutionary way, not revolutionary, for the benefit of the community. OHS ethical and legal concerns. There is no national or international legislation regulating the use of online-based health services. Protection of patient and patient information is one of the major concerns in OHS. Although there are many studies in the e-health literature that support reaching patients using the opportunities offered by the internet, there is also a critical approach that argues that these practices don't comply with medical ethics and are ethically and legally problematic. Method, my article is method. Hybrid Delphi technique originally. Hybrid Delphi technique, which is a combined version of the strengths of group decision-making techniques, will be used in this study. Delphi technique is a tool that tries to capture the common knowledge and experience of a particular group of experts in order to improve the decision process of individuals who need to make group decisions and to make predictions about the future. Delphi technique is a qualitative estimation and consensus method using quantitative tools. Hybrid Delphi is a different version of Delphi technique. The hybrid Delphi technique has been developed by combining the strengths of multiple decision techniques that provide consensus, solution generation, and prediction for professional groups. The hybrid Delphi techniques consist of roughly two stages. The first stage is carried out face-to-face and aims to make a comprehensive and in-depth exploration of the problem dealt with by applying the focus group technique and nominal group technique. I try to fast. Results. In the first application phase of the study, doctors from different branches were reached, having served as a specialist in the public sector for at least 5 years. The first exploratory focus group meeting was held with the doctors. Then it was tried to be determined how the online health service application could be with nominal group technique. In the last stage, the benefits and possible handicaps of online health services were estimated with a Delphi application, and the areas where it could be applied were discussed. The results in this study are based on the first round Delphi survey. That results of the second round of the survey have not yet reached us. Final study results will be presented in full text. The following questions were asked to panelists in the first round in an open-ended way. Question 1, in which health services do you think digital tools can be used, and what are the benefits? What kind of a path should be followed for digital transformation in health services? What are the negative aspects of digital transformation in healthcare? The answers given to these questions are categorized and listed as follows. OHS protect patients and doctors from contagious infections. The OHS is beneficial for patients who have been previously examined and followed up. OHS will reduce the workload in hospitals. Preventive health services can be offered online. OHS will reduce the workload of family doctors. Online treatment protocols can be developed and applied for all diseases that don't require examination. Legal infrastructure should be established in order to provide OHS. It is not possible to be treated without taking the patient's history and physical examination. Developing legal legislation on OHS enables healthcare operators to invest in this area. The development of legal legislation on OHS creates new employment areas and additional income opportunities for doctors and healthcare professionals. Ethical protocols and guidelines for e-health practices should be developed. Results, I shared this slide in chat section. You can frequency kare standard deviation. Conclusions. In Turkey, the legal regulations in order to provide online health services as required. During the pandemic period, it is necessary to benefit from digital tools at the maximum level in order to provide effective public resources, especially health services. In Turkey, the online submission of health services, both doctors and patients will bring together both new benefits for the health sector. Our findings have shown that some specific treatment and examination processes can be done online. However, there is no necessary legal and physical infrastructure in Turkey. Thank you for your participation and contribution. I tried to fast.
Thank you very much, Hussein. Thank you for your brief presentation, brief speech. Very interesting topic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, dear Alena.
We wait for your paper.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and stay with us. And now I would like to welcome our speakers from India. Lina Mariipen, are you here? Lina? Maybe Sana?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here. Hello?
Hello, and Lina is absent, yes? Now?
No, Lina ma'am is here. I can just call her.
Okay.
I'm going to be presenting the paper, ma'am.
You are now our speaker.
Yeah, she's here. Ma'am is here. Ma'am has come. Lina ma'am has come.
Okay, please.
Okay, I think I'll share my screen.
Hello.
Lina, hello. I'm very glad to welcome you. Hi. Thank you very much for joining us. Yes, we are listening to Sana. Okay.
A very good evening to all the guests and the participants here. At the outset, I would first like to thank the Uriel Federal University and the organizers of the conference for having given me an opportunity to present my work before this esteemed gathering. And our topic for today is the nature of labor migration in India. Does education and digitalization matter? So this paper has been written in collaboration with Professor Lina Mary, who's my professor of, who's my PhD guide. My name is Sana. I'm a PhD scholar of economics from India. And it's just giving us immense pleasure to present our work in before all of you here. So now, before I really get into the paper, I think it is very imperative to shed some light on what exactly is migration. Of course, all of us are aware about what migration is, And I think in today's times, especially in times of pandemic and the times that we are living in now, migration has now garnered attention from all across the world. Migration has become the talk of the town. And with this backdrop, I think I would just like to share some statistics of the international migration as to what exactly happens at the international arena. So if we see, or if we discuss about the international migration, we see that in the year 2019, there were about 272 million migrants, which is almost, I mean, close to 81% increase in the last 2 decades. So this sheds light on the magnitude of international migrants in the world. And where are these migrants present? So most of the migrants, that is almost a whooping share of 61% of the migrants, are located in Asia and Europe. And there, and the top 5 preferred destinations are, of course, all of us know it, the United States of America, followed by Germany, the Arab countries, Russia, and the United Kingdom. So these are the top 5 destinations of migration. So if these are the destinations, from where do the migrants move? The migrants are moving from certain countries. So, so that is the South Asian countries of Asia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan. These are the countries that send about 40% of international migrants. So these 4 countries account for a considerable share of international migrants in the world. After having spoken a little about international migration, I think now it is important for me to shed light on how India is placed on the global map. As we are representing the country of India, I think it will be important for me to shed some light on what India, or the role of India in terms of the international migration. So India, if we see, the Indian diaspora is said to be the largest in the world. That is what the World Migration Report suggests. That is the World Migration Report published by United Nations, says that the Indian diaspora is the largest in the world at a share of 17.5 million migrants. And to add to this, we see that in the last year, in the year 2019, India ranked first in the migrant sending countries. So if we see the list of migrant sending countries, the very first country at the top is the country of India. Because of India's position as the world leader in migrant sending countries, it is also a world leader in terms of remittances. So India's remittances has increased by about 50% in the last 1 decade. So from the year 2010 onwards, we see that there is an increase of close to 50% in the remittance share to the country. So this speaks about the number of Indians that are residing abroad. And what are the emigration hotspots of India? That is, which parts of India are really sending out these international migrants? So those are the states of Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Uttar Pradesh. Yeah, India is a country that has about 29 states, but these are the 3 states that contribute to the maximum number of international migrants from the country. Where do these migrants go to? These migrants are found in the places of United States, Canada, Australia, and the Arab countries. So these are the most preferred destinations for the Indian migrants abroad. And all of us are aware about what migration means. Migration is moving across the international borders, which is the international migration, or moving across the country, which becomes the internal migration. These are just some statistics of India's position on the world map. So if we see in the year 2005, in terms of remittances, India had position 3. And these are the remittances in terms of billion US dollars. So India had about 22.1 billion US dollars, which has now increased to about $78.6 billion in the year 2018. That is close to a 3.5 increase in the last 13 years. So India ranks first in terms of the remittance receiving countries. And if we see the remittance sending countries, India has the first position. That is the chart close to it. We see that India is #1 and United States of America is #1 in terms of the countries that receive migrants in the world. Next, now after having discussed about international migration, now I would like to shed some light on internal migration. So we do know that internal migration is the movement of migrants within the country. So now we would like to analyze as to what is the patterns of internal migration within the boundaries of India. Now, this chart actually shows us the comparison between internal and international migration. So the red line is actually showing us the number of internal migrants in the country. So this is in terms of, or this is in percentages. So if we see from the year 1971 to the year 2007 to 8, the share of internal migrants is fluctuating between 28 and 30. So which is about 28 to 30% of the population of India are actually residing as internal migrants in the other states of the country. International migration, the share is pretty negligible. If we see, it is almost less than 1%, except in the year 1971, where it was about 1.4%. So this this tells us that internal migrants are a considerable share of the population of the country, and they need to be, or their needs and their issues have to be addressed, because they are a reality, and we need to, or the policymakers have to take them in mind when they are designing policies. So if I talk about numbers, I would like to say that the internal migrants has increased by about 45% in the last 1 decade, from the year 2001 to 2011. The last census of India was published in the year 2011. So we still have to wait for a year more to know what is the migration trends in the year 2021. And the growth of internal migrants has almost doubled. So in the year 2011, the growth of internal migrants was 4.5%, which was compared to the previous decadal growth of about only 2.4%. And internal migrants, as I said, constitute about 30% of the Indian population. In this 30%, men account for 18% and women are accounting for 45%. So this also tells us that women are a considerable share of the internal migrants which are moving across India. In terms of demographics, it is mostly the youth. So the youth are traveling from one place to another in search of better opportunities for livelihood. And a very interesting feature of internal migration in India is actually the role of gender. And this role of gender has now led to a process which is called as the feminization of labor. So the feminization of labor is essentially bringing into focus the women migrants of the country. And due to better awareness and women empowerment, women are moving to different states of India, and women are taking up jobs which need to be attended by women. So that is the process of feminization of labor. There are certain jobs which are designed exclusively for women, and women are assuming roles in such positions. If we talk about the remittances, we see that there is about $10 billion or 10 billion Indian rupees, which are coming into the country because of internal remittances. So the internal migrants are sending about 10 billion rupees into India. And this was the latest data that was published in the year 2007 to 8 by an organization which is addressed as the NSSO, that is the National Sample Statistical Organization. So this is a government agency which conducts household surveys all over India, and they specialize in demographic, social, and the economic status of the citizens of the country. So the last published data was in the year 2007 to 8, and this has been updated until the last published data. And this graph is now shedding light on the internal migration by gender. So as I said, women are accounting for a considerable share of internal migrants in India, and that is pretty evident from the chart. So if we see the red line that denotes the women migrants in the country, so they show an increasing trend from the year 1983 to the year 2007, and they are increasing to up to 47%. So almost 50% of the internal migrants in India are women. And men account for a considerable lower share of internal migrants, that is ranging from 12 to 10%. So men are considerably lower in terms of women migrants in the country. And these are some state-wise migration rates. So India is a country of 29 states. So these are, this is a comparative study of the year 2000 and the year 2007. So just to have a look at how the migration pattern in India has changed across the different states of India. So if we see the states of Bihar and the states of Chhattisgarh, so these states have a very high net out migration rate. So when I talk about net migration, net, the word net suggests that it is calculated as the number of in-migrants in the country minus the number of out-migrants. So that is the number of migrants that move into the state minus the number of migrants that move out of the state divided by the population of the state. So in terms of this, we see that the states of Bihar and Chhattisgarh have a very high net out migration rate. So these are the states which are actually sending out migrants to the other states of India. And this trend is being followed even in the year 2007 and 8, because we see that Bihar and Chhattisgarh do have a very high net out migration rate. So these two states need to be a focus of attention, because these are the states which show a very high out migration. So now we need to analyze the reasons as to why is there a very high out migration from these states. One example can be that these are the poorly developed states of India. So the youth of these states is not finding any livelihood in their state. So they are bound to move to into the other states in search of livelihood. And I would like to draw your attention to the net migration rates in 2007 and 8, where we see that the two states of Delhi and Gujarat show a very high positive in migration. So this shows that these are the states which are actually attracting a lot of migrants into the state. So these are the states which are highly industrially developed. So they have a lot of economic opportunities for the youth to move into these countries and to take up livelihood. So this is just a snapshot of the different states of India and their migration rates. That is, which states have a very high net out migration and the states that have a very high net in migration. Now we would like to have a look at the drivers of international migration in India. What is exactly causing internal migration? So, there is a very famous theory that is known as the Lee's theory of migration. So Professor Lee actually focuses on two major factors. He talks about push factors and the pull factors. Now, push and pull are very self-explanatory. Push factors are those negative factors which are actually causing people to leave their places of residences and move into other states. And pull factors are the positive factors, or the factors which are really attracting people into the different states. So what can be the push factors? Push factors can be poverty, unemployment, poor economic conditions, or sometimes even conflicts and political instability in their states that they are forced to move out. And pull factors are the positive factors. So that could be better working conditions, better state of livelihood, a better employment, wages, a good standard of living. So these are the factors which are actually attracting people to move into the other states. And this is a quick look at the state-wise analysis of internal migration. So here we have focused on three major states: the state of Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, and Kerala. So these are the three states which have been well versed in the literature, or these are the states which are well researched in previous literature. So if we see for the state of Bihar, that is, if we can have a look at the map of India with all its states, we see that the state of Bihar is, so the state of Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, and Kerala has been highlighted. So these are the three states that now we are discussing. So in the state of Bihar, the push factors is poverty, low agricultural productivity, economic inequality, unemployment. So these are all the negative factors which are really pushing people out from this state to move into the other states. And what are the demographic features of the migrants that move out? So the migrants that leave the state of Bihar are predominantly unlettered, that is, they are illiterate, they are unemployed, and they are unskilled. So illiterate, unemployed, and unskilled, mostly male migrants, or the male that move to the states of Punjab, Haryana, and Maharashtra. So these are the neighboring states of Bihar. So if we can have a look at Bihar, there is Bihar here, and then we have Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Delhi. So these are all the neighboring states of Bihar, and these are very industrially and agriculturally advanced states. So this labor, or the unskilled labor that migrates, actually finds employment in these sectors of the neighboring states. The next state.
Sana, I'm sorry. Please finish.
Okay. The next state is the state of Uttar Pradesh. So we see that there is a lot of male migration from the state, of course, into the neighboring states. And the last state is the state of Kerala. A very distinctive feature of the state of Kerala is most of the migrants from the state of Kerala are highly educated ones. That is 59% of the migrants have a degree. So Kerala is a state which is actually hosting educated migrants from the state as compared to the other states, which is mostly unskilled and unemployed and unlettered migrants. And now we'd like to have a look at digitalization and migration. So digitalization is actually measured by access to information and communication technology. So literature sheds light on two schools of thought. One school of thought says that ICT reduces the need to migrate because ICT is actually going to give you access or a remote access or virtual access to your workplace, and you really don't need to migrate and you can stay in your hometown and access your workplaces. And the other school of migration or the other school of thought says that ICT promotes migration because it enables access to large amounts of information. Because of ICT, information is available at the click of your fingers. So it actually facilitates the process of migration. So these are the two schools of thought about digitalization.
Sana, sorry to interrupt. Can you just show the last slide, that relationship between digitalization and migration, and you can conclude because time is over.
Okay, ma'am, I'll just have a quick highlight at the objective. So our objective of the study is to understand the internal migration from the state of Kerala and what are the factors which are actually contributing to it. Does education and ICT play a role for out migration from the state? So I think I will have a look at, I will show the regression model. So in the regression model, our independent variable is the labor migrants from Kerala. And so the independent variables here is the state gross domestic product, the state consumer price index, the state unemployment rate, and the number of degree holder migrants, the number of skilled migrants, and the number of unemployed migrants. So this is actually shedding light on what role does education play in migration from the state. And then if in terms of ICT, because of lack of time, I think I'll be skipping a lot of slides. And now this is telling us the relationship between internet subscriptions and labor migrants from the state. So this line here, that is the gray line, actually shows the internet subscriptions in the state. So we see that with increasing internet subscriptions in the state, the number of migrants from the state is actually declining. So this blue line shows the number of migrants from Kerala. The number of migrants from the state is actually declining. And now we will draw a relationship between ICT and skilled migrants, because it is only the skilled migrants which can have a remote access to their workplace. Unskilled cannot work from home. So in terms of skilled migrants, which is this orange color bar here, so we see that ICT is actually not having any relationship with skilled migration from the state. The skilled migrants and ICT have no, or there is no correlation to be established between increasing internet subscriptions in the state and skilled migration from the state. So this was our objective number 1, where we dealt with skilled migration and internet subscriptions in the state. Now, next we will have a look at the education. So that is, what role does education play? That is in terms of these regression results. So in the regression results, we see that that is the migrants who are degree holders, that is the educated migrants, actually have a negative relationship. So this is suggesting that with increasing number or with increasing education, people are not migrating because of good levels of education. They are staying back in the state of Kerala and they are actually working there. They do not need to migrate. And in case of skilled migrants, we see that there is a positive relationship between skilled migrants and the migrants from the state. So greater the skill, greater the migration from the state. And a quick look at the economic variables in terms of the log per capita state GDP. So that shows a negative relationship, which means with increasing GDP of the state, that is, as the state develops and as the state progresses, the migration rate from the state falls. So people are not moving abroad, or people are not moving across the country. In terms of state CPI, that is the inflation rate also shows a negative relationship. The state unemployment rate does not seem to be having any...
Thank you. Thank you. We can stop because we are running
short of time. Yes, ma'am. So just 2 points of conclusion. ICT penetration does not have any out-migration, any impact on the out-migration, but we see that the education does play a role. So greater the skilled migrants, greater is the movement from the state. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sana. Thank you. I guess it was your PhD thesis. No? Just one paper.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much. And
thank you, ma'am.
I would like to invite our speaker from Czech Republic, Zuzana Dvoržáková, Professor Zuzana Dvoržáková. Are you here, Professor?
I'm opening the video.
Finally.
Okay.
Thank you very much for this long
I understand time is pressing, so I will be very quick. Now I'm trying to share my screen with you. Share. Okay. So it was my great pleasure to receive an invitation to this conference, and I would like to present some findings we received after analyzing secondary sources about executive education programs. The intention was to have an overview about the situation on the global education markets, as we have to design and then to implement a new executive education program at the University of Chemistry and Technology in Prague. The university is mostly focusing on research, basic and applied research, and at this moment they want to combine their research with economics and management programs. So I'm trying to go forward. So the aim of the paper is to finalize secondary sources, as I mentioned, then to identify the trends, to analyze approaches to executive education, and to identify some areas that can be focused on digital transformation. We realized that in the secondary sources, there is a concern about current business schools, regardless of the countries where they are located. So business schools are predominantly interesting in their research, lacking real life relevance. Then in many cases, academic research is not applicable to practice, and it's increasingly uncoupled from practice. On the other hand, executive education programs can serve as a context for prospective research project. Then it can increase the quality of teaching, and as well it can improve the institutional legitimacy of any business school. We used several research methods. Firstly, as I mentioned, it was in-depth analysis of bibliographic data from the respective databases. Then we analyzed the findings from papers, and then to be more known about the situation in the Czech culture, we did one focus group, collected lectures from Czech universities, and then two narrative cases which were held in August and October this year with top managers. All of them are from multinational companies. So we realized that in executive education programs are used several approaches. We can find used the traditional teaching formats, then teaching coupled with coaching, then in a growing number, there are action learning programs, some of them in partnership with business. Then the stress is on individualized learning experience, integrated with teamwork, team project, and sending participants for collecting experience abroad. The stress is to send them to developing countries. And the last point is about the digital transformation. For us, when we implementing the new program is a challenge to solve several points from debates. It's not clear if it's good enough to focus on knowing at a micro level or on a business level, only on business level. If we can offer the dominated context-free knowledge, or to focus on self-determined contact and specific knowledge. Then if lectures should be from many subjects, or we can offer only a personal focusing subjects to develop only close professional skills. Then if we, okay, I'm going back. If we need to take people out of themselves, or non-directly taking them. And the last point is how we can provide critical feedback to them. If we can use normative reference points as a basis for providing feedback, or if the feedback should be individualized, combined with some coaching practices. So debates will use as a starting point for developing the predetermined executive program, and after 1 year we can share with you our experience. At this moment we've got a program consisted of 11 blocks, and one of the block is about the digital transformation in executive education. It's a need, as we know, and the content of the block dealing with digital transformation will focus on an overview and best practices used in digitalization, and how to implement digitalization in the new corporate strategy, regardless of the companies are from the services or from production. And another part of the block dealing with digital transformation will be about new analytics platform. We decided that the lecture of this block would be from the top management and from financial services, because financial institutions as well from the telecoms are, how to say, on the front line with digital transformation in our country. Conclusion of this paper. As I said in advance, we are at the beginning of the implementing of executive education. At this moment, at the business schools, we are used usually a combination of say, traditional formats and action learning courses. Some of them are in partnership with businesses. We realize that a need is to incorporate into any courses some aspects that can be helpful for developing responsible mindset, ethical literacy, cultural intelligence, global mindset, self-development, and community building. And for people coming from senior management levels, it's necessary to offer an individualized learning experience. I realize that the presentation is very short. Hopefully you will find some answers to your questions in the paper. And if we meet in 1 year, then I have more experience with this program.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor. Thank you for your short presentation.
It was perfect timing.
It was perfectly. Thank you. Stay with us. And now I invite our next speaker from India again. Yes, this is Dr. Madan Yaktab.
Hello. Hello, I'm present here. So let me show my presentation. So we are out of time already. So thank you, organizer, and thank you, Professor Elena, for inviting me for the conference. I will start my presentation with my topic. So I think it is visible to all of you, my presentation. So I congratulate to third conference of Russian chapter AIS, Digitalization of Society, Economy, Management and Education. So my topic is design of M-polar fuzzy set-based expert system for non-traditional machining process selection. So I am from Saraswati College of Engineering. I'm working with Saraswati College of Engineering as an associate professor. So what digitalization and so in manufacturing industry, digitalization deals with the expert system. So basically to make a manufacturing industry digitalize, so I'm working on this M-polar fuzzy set based system. So it is an expert system which make selection of various processes for machining purpose. So in this particular topic, these are the contents, abstract, so introduction, objective, literature, then development of the framework, then application. So in this particular paper, I have collected various expert system, so previous expert system, and I have collected literature of non-traditional machining process. So I have implemented here M-polar fuzzy set based method for solving the problems in manufacturing industry for selection of non-traditional machining process. Here in this particular PPT, I have solved one problem of non-traditional machining process selection. So moving ahead, so what is non-traditional machining processes? When we machine a material, there are several hard material. So in revolution of manufacturing industry, we come across unmachinable materials. So in order to overcome that, there are some non-traditional machining process which use different energy sources for removing material from that particular element. So that results into new group of machining processes that are the non-traditional machining processes. So my topic is very specific. It is related to mechanical engineering. So as I am working in mechanical engineering in India. So here convention. So M-polar. So it starts with bipolar. So then the extension is M-polar. So what is bipolar? So 0, 1 represent the bipole. So there are two things, constraints are there for a process and desires are there. So constraints are having two poles and wishes are having two poles. So there are constraint functions are there and objective functions are there. So for constraint functions, we have two poles, and obviously for objective functions, we have two poles. So range of constraints are impossible to feasible, and range of objective function is from indifferent to preferred. So we will concentrate on this in the method. So introduction to M-polar fuzzy set. So in real world problems, we come across multi-agent, multi-attribute, multi-object, multi-index, multipolar information and uncertainty. So uncertainty is everywhere in our decision-making process. When we take a decision, the uncertainty comes with data, decision maker, and the method which we are implementing. So these are the three components which will result into uncertainty. So in order to overcome this uncertainty, we have to design an expert system in such a way we can reduce or we can remove that particular uncertainty from our decision making process. So this M-polar fuzzy set, actually it is an extension of bipolar. When there is a 0-1, it is known as bipolar, and when we are implementing multiple concepts to this bipolar, it becomes M-polar, multipolar. So we can take into consideration multiple attributes for solving one numerical. For selection process, we can consider. So objective of my research is to develop a framework based on M-polar fuzzy set methodology for selection of non-traditional machining process, and to implement M-polar fuzzy set method for selection of non-traditional machining process to validate results obtained with previous results, and to find the M-polar uncertainties with the help of M-polar fuzzy set. So as it is a decision process and it will ultimately result into digitalization of the expert system. So I have also developed a software, but I have not mentioned in this presentation. So literature review. So I have collected several papers previous from peers. So these are the 7 papers which have explained different expert system. So these are based on various decision making processes. So some are having AHP, analytical hierarchy process, quality function deployment, multi-attribute selection procedure, then decision tree, then digraph, then online expert system. So the limitations of these processes are whether they are not user friendly, and the next limitation, they are not considering uncertainty in decision making process. So in order to overcome, so I am working on this M-polar fuzzy expert system. So this is data collected from literature only. So economics of various NTMPs, so capital cost, tooling cost, power consumption, material removal rate, efficiency, tool wear, then shape applications are there, precision small holes, standard holes, through cavities, then precision standard surfacing is there, then through cutting, shallow deep cutting. Then there are material application for metals and alloys. So there are several materials we can use for machining process: aluminum, steel, superalloys, titanium, refractory material, ceramic, plastics, and glass. So this is the data from literature, and this is linguistic data. So this is a vague data, that's why it is having uncertainty in it. So in order to overcome the uncertainty with the data, so we have this M-polar fuzzy expert system. This is a framework which explains us about the expert system for selection of NTMPs. So we are having several non-traditional machining processes: mechanical, electrochemical, chemical, thermochemical. So in that we are having various parameters. So physical parameters are there, shape applications are there, material applications are there, and material application for non-metals and metals are there. So out of these, I have selected for M-polar fuzzy expert system process capabilities, the parameter which are having process capabilities, and the parameters which are having economics of the various NTMPs. So for process capabilities, we are having metal removal rate, tolerance, surface finish, depth of surface damage, and power. And here for cost, we are having capital cost, tooling cost, power consumption cost, material removal rate, efficiency, and tool wear. So application of M polar fuzzy set. So when a person wants to select a particular process for machining purpose, so in non-traditional machining process, we are having several parameters. So here I am considering 3 parameters. So one is good material, second is through cavity, and third is optimum cost. So considering these 3 parameters, I want to select a better non-traditional machining process. So we are having the alternatives like Y1, Y2, Y3, Y4. So Y1 is USM, that is ultrasonic machining process. Y2 is AGM, abrasive jet machining process. Y3 is chemical machining process, and Y4 is laser beam machining process. So with this 4 alternative, we are having 3 parameters: a material, then through cavity, and optimum cost. So Z1, Z2, Z3. So next, Z1 represents the material, Z2 represents the through cavity, Z3 represents the cost. Then when we map all these things, so effective selection of non-traditional machining process by forming a 3 polar fuzzy soft relation. Zeta is mapping Y over T. So this is the matrix where alternative maps over the criteria. So alternatives map over the different parameters of this particular process. After implementing M polar fuzzy set algebra, we come across there are results, so which shows us. So here these are the results: zeta of Q plus zeta of Q underscore and overscore. So it will give us Y1 as a preferred machining process, non-traditional machining process for non-metals through cavities and at low cost. So this is Y1 USM, which we can prefer. The person will prefer this one. So whether the person is skilled or non-skilled, he can use this particular M polar fuzzy expert system for selection of non-traditional machining process. So conclusion, so we can implement this M polar fuzzy set system for selection of non-traditional machining process. So it can be implemented in various fields also. So it can be implemented for selection of hotel, it can be implemented for selection of hospital, it can be implemented for selection of particular location for petroleum that industry. So all applications are there, but I am implementing here for selection of non-traditional machining process. And here results shows that the USM is preferred. So USM, AJM, LBM, CHM, this is the sequence. Then M polar fuzzy set method deals with multipolar uncertainty. This is the advantage of this particular process. So further in future, we can you go for hybrid methods, which combines this MCDM and M polar, like Elector 1, AHP. So all we can combine and we can have a new method. So these are the references, and this is all about my presentation. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Madan. Thank you for your time, for being with us today, this afternoon. Okay, I don't think we have any questions because we are a little bit running out of time. But
it's okay, sir, no problem. If you have any questions, then you can send me the mail. I will glad to answer. And I congratulate Ural Federal University on completion of 100th year. So it's a 100th year completion. So we are the partner with Ural Federal University in academics, in internship. So that is also one thing. So I am consecutively in a connection with professors of Ural Federal University from last year. So we also participate in several internship programs. Also, your professors participated in our conference here in India. So this is a long-going relationship between Ural Federal University and Saraswati College of Engineering. So, and I congratulate you for organizing such a good conference in this particular scenario of COVID-19. And I also thankful to you that you have given me such a opportunity to present in front of all these dignitaries and researchers, good researchers from various countries. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And stay with us because our next speaker is from Latvia. Ilze Kachne. Please share with us your presentation.
Thank you so much.
Wait for you
I hope everybody hears me. Can you hear me?
Madan should close his presentation.
Is the sound fine?
This is Madan.
Ask him to.
Please close your presentation, Madan. Okay. Okay, Ilze, we can see you.
So this was my presentation. Can I share the screen? Okay. Is that fine now?
Okay.
So thank you very much for inviting me, and it's a great honor, and I sincerely I appreciate your invitation, Alona, and thank you for this long-term collaboration. My topic today is related to the challenges of digitalization related to coronavirus, and this is the team of the researchers who worked on it, and I'm among them, and I will actually present the results of it. We all know that when the coronavirus spread, that very many people around the world faced challenges, and teachers were the same as medical workers among those who actually were fighting differently, but fighting against COVID. Our government reacted very quickly. The emergency situation was announced on March 12th. We didn't have any cases, but overnight, all the teaching learning process needed to start remotely, which caused quite a challenge for both learners and for teachers. And only after June 10th, when this emergency situation was stopped, and face-to-face consultations began. So how to manage something like that in the situation such as unpredictable? First of all, the ministry carried out a questionnaire in basic and secondary education institutions to specify if the learners are equipped with some equipment and devices, and it turned out that low income and large families are not equipped at all. There was a quite great number that couldn't follow this process, and the support was provided by local governments, private partners, and some of them actually received some advices to continue a normal study process. But in general, the basic conclusion was that this remote teaching and learning process was a big push for digitalization as such. And it was not only a big push, it was also the reflection of the real situation, because the ministry also understood that there are great challenges, great problems, and that actually they specified the needs and the problems of the learners, but teachers in a way remained in some disadvantageous situations. So pressure and stress among the employees of education system was not paid enough attention. So what can we say about the digitalization of the educational process in general? Everybody knows there are very many agendas and strategies around the world, globally, in each country, also in our country, and all of them actually introduce and show some strategies how to actually improve the quality of education by using digital technologies. In Latvia, we can say that we have this special situation that reforming the Latvian education system is taking place, and there is some project called competency-based curriculum called School 2030, which focuses on modernization of education, strengthening of interdisciplinarity. They focus on transversal competencies, and of course they define these competencies, and among them there are digital skills, and much importance is paid to digitalization of the education system in general. But was this system really prepared for such unexpected situation which happened in spring? Well, in general, we can say that this pandemic saved the way for the implementation of self-directed learning process. And so both sides were in the situation of challenges and facing them. Learners needed to develop their motivation, become more independent, self-disciplined, self-confident, aim-oriented, but also teachers who actually needed to change this method, approach to the learner, also needed to become something different what we used to do before. So we need to understand that actually we are working now in the digital era, and the teachers needed to meet the needs of the digital natives, taking into consideration that, of course, digital economy of the UE actually is focusing on workplaces which require employees which at least have basic digital skills. And this pandemic, of course, once again proves that we need to be prepared for such situations, and the strategies need to be not only theoretical material on how we should do it, but we need to start implementing them as quick as possible. So the research we did was only in secondary schools. We carried out 3 focus group interviews, and altogether there were teachers from rural and urban schools. So we actually asked them to express their opinion, not face-to-face interviews, but while working together, they were like co-researchers, so, analyzing the situation, and we can trust their voices because this is the phenomenon of heteroglossia, and that's why we rely on this material as very, let's say, precise and reliable, although of course the project is ongoing. So what are the basic findings? First of all, there are some very important issues. And the first one is access to and use of ICTs, or digital technologies, devices, and so on. What relates the teachers that, of course, they needed to take into consideration the pupils' needs and desires as such, but the basic problem is that not all schools are digitally well equipped. And those schools who have these policies were much more prepared, and they had less problems. And this once again initiated the, let's say, dialogue and polylogue about how strong these digitalization policies for each school should be, and what is the role of the ministry and education reformers and policy makers. So this is one of the issues which actually will be more discussed in the paper. Another issue was this individual approach, and teachers told the researchers that actually they needed to find this approach to not only each of the pupils, but also their families, and they needed to perform multiple roles, not only as a teacher, but as a psychologist, as a mentor, as a consultant, and so on and so on. And they needed to motivate not only one pupil or the class, but to work with families as such. And many things, of course, depended on the teacher, on the pupils themselves. So then they noticed the inequalities while implementing remote learning. That's why they tried to adopt very flexible approaches, but of course on their own expense, because there was little support, especially in the first weeks, from the ministry and And that's why they use diverse digital channels and platforms, created digital content, but that was the issue again for the oldest generation. And that's why very many complain that they actually spend a lot of time while educating themselves first, and only then they are able to give something more to pupils. And this means that their load increased dramatically, sometimes even twice or three times. In order to improve their knowledge, they started quickly professional development, and digital competence became the most important thing. It once again revealed the maybe advantages and disadvantages of some digitalization policies. And of course, much support was expected, but not always was received. So they complained, and they also shared their difficulties and challenges. And of course, this all resulted in teachers' emotional and psychological well-being. And due to enormous workload and this lockdown, everybody hoped that the situation would improve, beginning with the new study year, but it didn't happen. At the end of September, the situation dramatically decreased, and now since Monday, the second lockdown, national lockdown began. So this challenge is now continuing, but so in addition to this emotional well-being and let's say some other important health issues teachers complained about, they all are now speaking of long COVID exhaustion. So they are not getting enough support and in very many spheres, and that's why one of the basic conclusions is that support of the staff is required. So what concerns implications in the time of crisis, we understand that of course, there are no situations in general without stress. Only the level of the stress can change. So we can say that teachers are recommended to always be ready to leave their comfort zone. And this is sometimes even considered as healthy and functional way for surviving. That's why the teachers actually should be already prepared while studying at higher educational establishments to be equipped with experience and knowledge for such situations, for them to regain courage, resilience, creativity, and so on and so on. And basic conclusions then, very briefly, are that there need to be several measures taken to ensure equal access to digital technologies, not only for learners, but for teachers, because many complain about the usage of outdated technologies or borrowing something because the schools were closed and didn't have, let's say, enough support. And of course, measures need to be taken in creation of the digital content, because all the teachers confirmed they needed to actually let's say reform the content they were providing to the teachers, and this should become, let's say, the regular process what the teachers are doing, but included in the workload. Then of course the administration, the ministry, the government need to take into consideration that although strategies and policy documents state that digital competence is priority number one, but the improvements of digital competence need to take place practically, not only theoretically. And this is now actually also has been heard by the government. And preservation of the teacher's well-being is of great importance. So what we can then finally state is that this transversal competence can help to teachers to master their competencies and so on, but we need to take into consideration that although 30% complained about having only basic digital skills, 80% report that they also need more training, and that we actually need to have this improvement of digital competence, number one. And I hope that our implications and conclusions will be also heard by policymakers, and the research will continue. Thank you for your attention. This was very briefly and taking into account the situation with time.
Thank you very much, Hilde. I will sign under each of your words. Thank you very much. It's very true.
I think that we all who work in higher education have come through this, and so maybe some issues differ from country to country, but all in all, we are in one boat. We are in a similar situation, which we need to overcome.
Thank you for this presentation. So, dear participants, oh, I can see Francisco. Hi, Francisco.
Finally.
We can see you.
Okay, I manage it. You know, my computer has a keyboard that we have to press in order to the camera comes out. So that I didn't really discover what to do, but my daughter was at home, and so we managed in the end. So you can see my face now.
Now you know, but now we have to finish our conference.
Okay, okay.
The time is over. Thank you very much for all participants. It is special, valuable your participants in this VUCA world, hard times. Yes, and I wish all of you who were here with us personally, but I believe that next year we will make it
Sure.
for sure, yes. And we will meet in Yekaterinburg and Moscow. We invite you, come to Moscow or Yekaterinburg, and we make a big conference about offline, not online.
Okay. Face-to-face one.
Okay, thank you very much. Maria, Italia, Indonesia, Latvia, Portugal, Czech Republic, Italy, Turkey, India. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thanks,
Okay.
please. Take
Bye
care.
bye.
Bye
Bye you all.
Bye bye. Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Keep in touch.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Elena, bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Yes, bye-bye. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the committee. Bye.
Bye. Bye.